Hello friends, today I'd like to briefly talk about a complaint I see often surrounding endgame content in IMR. Specifically, people saying that the game or new content is bad when they're not strong enough to fully clear it. And so I'd like to talk about why Infinite Magicraid has this sort of content and why I think it's important that you can't clear all of it immediately upon release. Now, I will preface this by saying I do appreciate that it's frustrating when you get stuck at stage 3 of one of the new 7 Sages bosses or on floor 300 of a planar rift. And I understand why you might think the game or the content is bad as a result. After all, you get excited for this new content and you feel like you should be able to just sit down, play it and complete it. But I think it's important to recognise that Infinite Magicraid and games like it thrive on a sense of progression. The entire game is about building your hero roster, increasing your power, and then being able to tackle increasingly difficult content as a result. If that difficult endgame content doesn't exist in the first place for you to fail at, then not only do you not have something to work towards, but you also don't have a yardstick for how strong you actually are at that moment in time. Like, if I know I'm failing at stage 400 of a planar rift and there's 1000 of them, that gives me a really good idea of where I stand on that scale and how strong my account is in a PvE setting. If me and everyone else around me was able to fully complete that content immediately, I don't know how much stronger other people are than me. I don't know how strong I am myself. I was able to clear it all, and that devalues a lot of the work you put into your account. After all, what's the point of us getting stronger if there's no content to test us and for us to fail at? When you can't beat a boss, but then you come back 2 weeks later with stronger units and you end up clearing it, that is a fantastic feeling, and you really feel as though you've earned the rewards you get through doing that. In fact, I'd even go as far as saying that this is the bread and butter of most RPG games with leveling or progression systems. At the end of the day, there needs to be long-term goals and difficult rewards for us to push towards. If there wasn't a carrot on a stick in the form of difficult endgame content, then the game as a whole wouldn't be anywhere near as fun, even though it may be hard to see that sometimes when you're frustrated and you're stuck and you're struggling to progress and you really want those rewards. For me personally, my favourite part of the game from a PvE perspective was actually the Tower of Mark. I just thought that was a fantastic opening to the game. I thought the rewards are great, but most of all, back when I started the game with less powerful heroes, it really was quite difficult and took a while to build up until you could beat floor 30. And then when you did, you got those 25 mythic shards, it really felt amazing. And I'm not as convinced that if I were to start a new character now, with all the stronger heroes and the power creep, and cleared Tower of Mark twice as fast, that it would be anywhere near as fun an experience. Let me give another example. When Wuthering Coast was first released, I think a lot of PvE players thought it was one of the best additions to the game thus far. I know a lot of people, like myself, were concerned about how they were going to implement plus 20 equipment, but I think mythic scales, the way you get mythic scales, was really done well, tastefully. I think the balance between free to play and non-free to play was great. Generally, it was considered to be fantastic content. However, after a while, due to power creep, suddenly it became very easy to access the higher damage ceilings. And now we're at a point with Little Jack, Deandra, Arato, in which a lot of PvE players, especially the endgame ones, find it incredibly easy to cap out that damage and cap out those rewards. Now, before the release of 7 Sages and the Planar Rift, we found that a lot of endgame PvE players were getting really frustrated with the lack of challenging PvE content because they've been fully completing Wuthering Coast easily for a while at this point. They're getting all the best rewards and there was no other meaningful endgame PvE content in the game. And as a result, there was no longer a long-term goal for them to push towards. Without having something to feed that sense of progression and for something to push them forward and to really test their might, we found quite a few PvE players got sick and some of them even quit the game as a result. Now, with that in mind, I wish those guys stuck around for the 7 Sages and Planar Rift content because I think that's also been implemented great. I think it's a fantastic solution to this, and it definitely gives me the same vibes as Wuthering Coast on release. The rewards are great, there's lots of content that uses a massive variety of heroes, and it will take a long time to fully clear, meaning that there's always that goal to push towards. The ranking rewards in 7 Sages also means that people are competing against each other for these big rewards, and that essentially creates an infinite end level of sorts. But with all that being said, there is definitely a correct level of difficulty. Content like this should feel like a gradual progression and not massive brick walls that seem insurmountable. You want to be able to build a new unit or upgrade your stats and then see progression within this content. If you do those things, if you build a new unit, if you upgrade your stats in a big way and you still can't get any further, that is not a good gaming experience. And it's situations like that where I can appreciate people getting frustrated. I think a good example of this is the original implementation of Endless Cloister before it was subsequently patched. The long grindy levels, the rewards being subpar alongside the spikes in difficulty made this unenjoyable for many players. I do feel like as a whole, from a design standpoint, DH Games have improved on this massively with the recent content however, and I am very hopeful for more quality endgame IMR content moving forward. As always, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. I've just broken 100 subscribers in a week, which is incredible. I can't thank you all enough. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I'm really loving the experience, and I hope you are too. Good night, and dog bless.